Hello and welcome. I am Oyiza Adaba with the Africa Related Report. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be discussing the impact of NSARS and police brutality and what it means to be a Nigerian journalist today and the impact of the current terrain in Nigeria on journalists living and working in Nigeria. Um, we decided to do this today because there was a press statement that was issued by the Committee to Protect Journalists sometime last week, just outlining all the atrocities that have happened in the last few weeks against Nigerian journalists. And so we decided to look further into this and, take a look at some of these issues that were raised. So let's get on with it and go straight to that report by the CPJ. Law enforcement and unidentified assailants attacked Nigerian journalists and media offices during protests. And it took this report all the way from October 26th. I'm sorry, it was issued on October 26th, but it took it all the way from October 5th, all through to November 14th. I'm sorry, November 6th, I believe, where the last story about Mr. O'Hare, Tom O'Hare, the report came out. But let's start from October 5th. Since October 5th, police and demonstrators have attacked at least 12 journalists covering protests across the country. Protests again against police brutality, for the abolition of the country's federal anti-robbery squad unit, SARS. And at least 5 outlets have been attacked, according to news reports and journalists, who spoke with the CPJ. And according to Angela Quintel, the Committee to Protect Journalists Africa Program Coordinator in New York, it's a tragic irony that journalists have been repeatedly attacked, including uniformed members of the Nigerian security forces, as a report on protests against police brutality. Unfortunately, the violence that we have seen against Nigerian press in recent days is consistent with the violence that journalists in the country routinely face. I think that's the part that bothers me the most, but let's go on. Nigerian authorities must take immediate action to hold those responsible to account, and to ensure that the media works in the safety environment like they should. On October 11th, Gimba, before I get to Gimba's story, Ebuka Onye on October 5th was attacked. He's with Premium Times, and he was covering protests at the Federal Secretariat around Abuja when he was attacked. And then following that, according to Onye, they hit him on the head with stakes and his arms. And despite him being identifying himself as as a journalist, they didn't stop. On October 11th, Gimba Kakanda, a columnist with a privately owned Daily Trust newspaper, was attacked. And he went to try to pick up his car from the nearby Ministry of Women's Affairs, and this was in Abuja as well. And Gimba said the officers hit him and his friends with sticks and smashed his phones and took his friends, took him and his friend to a nearby police station. And they were discharged, or they were released the same day without charge, but the damage had been done. Following that, on October 11th, police attacked a Rise television camera operator, Francis Ogbonna, and reporter Ferdinand Duora, while they were covering protests in Abuja, according to a video shared on Twitter. And on October 13th, authorities again in Abuja attacked Duora, as well as 2 other Rise television camera operators, Jonah Odofia and Joshua Benjamin. Hmm. And then on October 12th, in Bagada in Lagos, uh, TV Continental presenter Teofilo Salama was hit in the chest and was forced to stop working. They seized his camera. Julius Idowu, his cameraman, Julius Idowu, was forced to leave the protest area. Elama told the CPJ in a conversation following the incident. October 17th, Oluwatosin Yusuf, a journalist with the Southwestern Osun State Broadcasting Corporation, was also attacked by unidentified men while covering a protest around Olaya roundabout in Oshobo. Yusuf, the assistant director of news and current affairs, said the men threw stones and windows, threw a stone through the window of a vehicle where he was taking shelter from the protest and injured his head. In a separate incident on the 21st of October, the OSBC building, was it was stoned. They were breaking windows and destroying vehicles parked outside. As of October 21st, we moved to Lagos now. The LST, Lagos State Television, and TVC broadcaster, TVC Television Continental, they were attacked. And those two, and the other stations that are in the same building, radio stations that are in the same buildings, were attacked. 21st, Ayo Makinde, TVC reporter, with the privately owned channel news broadcaster, was also attacked by unidentified people. Ooh, 24th of October, Apokona Omafwere, a senior photojournalist with Vanguard, said he was stopped in his car on his way to the NUJ headquarters in Warri. And he said at least 8 police officers were blocking the road on his way to the meeting. He exited his car and had a confrontation with them. 26th, Emmanuel Adeyemi, correspondent with the privately owned The Sun, traveled. This was in Lokoja in Kogi State, and he was shot actually, and he remained in critical condition. Mr. You can see. You can see that the stories really are endless. Let me just show you a little bit of what is going on with the CPJ around the world in terms of where they stand on on press freedom around the world. It is 2020 so far. 22 journalists killed, 248 imprisoned since 2019, 64 globally missing. So these are the figures that are out there, and Nigeria has been in the news constantly because of NSARS and also the aftermath of NSARS, and we continue to see some of these very concerning and reports coming out of Nigeria. And some of the journalists I've spoken to a few journalists today. Oh, sorry, not just today, but during this whole course. And some of those things that I remember specifically, a journalist, apart from fearing for their safety and reporting against all odds and having to deal with the bad rap that Nigerian journalists have gotten over the years as brown envelope takers, unfortunately. But it's not so. A lot of journalists are out there doing some very good work and reporting truth, and it is in the course of doing that that these journalists are constantly attacked in Nigeria, and it is very difficult terrain to work when you're faced with these types of challenges. So, what do you do as a journalist when you're faced? Committee to Protect Journalists, the CPJ, it offers different resources. Another great resource that we can take advantage of as journalists is the International Center for Journalism, and they offer a lot of resources: who to call, what to do. If anything happens to you as a journalist in the course of carrying out your duties. And one of the main issues is the mental health of journalists that has not really been addressed. And that is one of the issues that you hear coming up constantly, because journalists are faced with this very odious task of reporting and reporting truth, and doing some very difficult stories, going into terrains where nobody would go. A lot of journalists do face mental health challenges. A lot of them are insomnic. They can't sleep. They have nightmares. I was talking to a journalist today, and he was telling me he can't tell me how many mass graves he's been to. He has never seen a psychiatrist in his life, has never had any type of mental check, and he continues with his job quite strongly too. Um, it's needed. It's needed in terrains such as ours, and it's needed for our journalists. So I'm going to put some links out there, and some helpful links, and I hope that these help in. Again, I talked about the CPJ, the Committee to Protect Journalists. I also mentioned the ICFJ, which is the International Center for Journalism, for journalists, sorry. And these two very good resources are there to help, journalists out there, just gather themselves, look through all the resources they have, and make sure that you reach out for help if you need. And um, if you need people to talk to, these organizations are there, and they have, again, all sorts of resources out there, and they have journalists from all over the world. So you understand that you're not alone in facing some of these things. Some of these things that we face as journalists. There are very much others as well that are going through these. A lot of and you again journalists from all over the world, as you can see. So go through some of the pages and check out some of the resources that the CPJ and also the International Center for Journalists have to offer. And I continue to urge every journalist, and especially every Nigerian journalist out there, to keep flying that flag, carry on the mantle, even when the terrain is difficult and when the situation is impossible. Their lives are threats. There are people thinking of relocating their families right now as we speak before they publish any stories out there. So journalists have to live in constant fear, and it is a fear that it's burdened, it's brought on by the burden of carrying truth. So let's continue to keep our journalists and newsmakers and news bringers, they bring the news to us, out there. Keep safe, and wish you all well in your endeavors, and let's continue to do what we do in this profession that has chosen us, really has chosen us. So until next time, we'll bring you another subject or another person to discuss current issues with. I am Oyiza Adaba. I'm calling to you from the Africa Related Studios in New York. Subscribe to us at Africa Related Inc. See you next time. Oh yeah, 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 oh yeah.